see that. No, fine. That's good.
Hakka kurban dedi, çıkıp bakıp zevalinden.
Bedrin gönül, aşka düşen gün gönül, karanfil bedrin gönül.
Callejones y tus distintos caminos son 27 de ser un transeúnte, de crecer entre tu gente.
La tradición, el festival del folclor que late en el corazón.
Yes, Rainer.
Thank you so much, Helen.
You're welcome.
I appreciate very much. Very often at conferences where you talk about music, you never hear a single note played by a musician. So it's very nice that we could hear all the different music styles now.
Yeah. If we had time, we would present more, but just as a briefing what happened.
No, we can always interrupt for a few minutes and listen to some music if we want. We can decide, and it's, as we are a smaller group, it's good because we work better together and discuss more intense, which is also very nice, which we can't do if we were like 1,000 people. But it's wonderful that you all came and that you're all here and that we can exchange. Anyway, it's good to exchange. So we have a panel of 5 panelists, right? And everyone is here. Mehmet already spoke. Dr. Ozan Baldan, I can see.
Yeah.
And Levent Derignol.
No, actually, they are here. Kırşehir. Yeah.
Okay, is here. Yes, I can see. And Levent, can you also hear us? Okay, let's see. And then we have Sakina Askarova, also here, right?
Yes.
Yes, I can see you. And Miguel Sanchez is also here. Am I right? No,
no, actually, no, he couldn't join yet.
Okay, he could join, so we'll see. Mm-hmm. So, if you don't mind, we can start. So you all had this little text I wrote for the conference. Maybe we all have this as a background and a few questions. But before we come to the questions that were mentioned there, maybe we can start a discussion. And I would like to ask Dr. Ozan Baldan first, as you are the head of the musicology department at Haziran University. And as we have seen now in this video, we've seen a lot of musical heritage, like you could say, but we've also had this hip hop part. And I would like to start with a question regarding the two sides of the medal of heritage. So one thing, it gives you connection to the space where you are, and it gives you identity, if you could say. but sometimes it blocks development, because if you only focus on heritage, you could not develop. So, Dr. Baldan, how would you say is your department, for example, of the music scene in Urfa? I say Urfa, if you don't mind, dealing with that. Is there a good balance, or do you think the huge heritage that we heard from Mehmet, that we have seen in the video also, is a burden and blocks urban modern development? Baldan, maybe you can give us an overview about the situation in Urfa.
Teşekkür ederim. Türkçe katılacağım. Sanırım çeviri yapılıyor. İsterseniz İngilizce'de konuşabilirim.
Evet hocam, buyurun.
Peki.
Yeah, you can use the interpretation icon for the non-Turkish speakers. Tamam hocam, buyurun.
Peki, teşekkür ederim. Tabii bu kadar güçlü bir müzik kültürü olunca bir şehirde, gelenekten gelen, aslında bir sunum yapma fırsatım olursa aslında Antik Sümer'den günümüze nasıl bir süreklilik olduğunu da anlatmak isterdim. Yani bu konuda bir PowerPoint sunumum var. Bu kadar güçlü bir müzik kültürü taşıyınca bir şehir elbette bu moderne biraz daha yavaş adapte olur. Çünkü alışılmış bir müzik kültürünün içinde yoğruluyor. Ancak oldukça dinamik bir şehir Şanlıurfa. Burada şuna dikkat çekmek isterim. Çok kültürlü ile çoğul kültürlü, yani kavramlarını ayırmak lazım. Şanlıurfa tamı tamına bir geçiş noktası pek çok kültür için ve şehir oldukça farklı kültürden insanları barındırıyor. Böyle olunca şuna dikkat çekmek lazım. Mesela kimi Avrupa kültürleri vardır, çok şehirleri vardır, çok kültürlüdür. Yani çok sayıda kültür bir arada yaşar. Belçika buna iyi bir örnektir. Mesela televizyon bile ayrılmıştır. Belli saatlerde belli işte kültürlerin yayını yapılır. Bu birbirinden ayrı yaşayan, bir arada yaşayan kültür tarzı dışında Şanlıurfa kaynaşmış bir kültüre sahiptir. Yani bir köşe başında işte bir Arap müziği duyabileceğiniz gibi, ya bunlar iç içe yaşar. Diğer bir köşede modern bir müzik duyabilirsiniz. Mesela Şanlıurfa'nın bir gençlik orkestrası var. Burada çok sesli müzik yapılıyor, Batı müziği tarzında. İnsanlar ilgiyle dinliyor. Hatta kimi türküler bu şekilde düzenlenmiş. Onun dışında geleneksel müzik de bir yandan yürüyor. Çok misafirperver bir bakış açısı vardır. Yani insanlar mesela get dolaşma yoktur. Ayrı ayrı mahallelerde yaşamazlar farklı kültürlerden olanlar. Hep bir arada yaşanır ve bir arada bu kültür gelişir. O yüzden elbette çok güçlü bir kültürün taşıyıcısı olarak bunu muhafaza ediyor. Ancak gelen her türlü yeniliğe de kapısı açık. Burada üniversitenin mesela çok çabuk kabul görmesi, şehirde yaptığımız konserler, bir çok sesli koro kurduk. Ondan sonra şehirde üst üste konserler verdik ve ilgi gördük. Bu da modern müziğe, bugünkü bakış açılarına da açık olduklarının bir göstergesi.
Thank you, Dr. Baldan. Thanks a lot for this overview. And it looks like that there's a good balance within the city. We'll come back to that later when we talk about the contribution of that to city development, because this is what we would like to talk today, the contribution of cultural heritage and music to urban development. But first I would like to hear another voice from Azerbaijan, Sakina Askarova. Sakina, I can say Sakina, right? And I will say Ozan, right? Sakina,
you can say Sakina.
Thanks, Sakina. Can you confirm what Ozan just said, or how would you describe the balance of course, the huge cultural and musical heritage in Baku versus modern and urban styles more? Is heritage blocking a development, or is it fostering development? Is it in good balance? What do you think?
So I would say that, of course, Baku was witness for the different historical circumstances, maybe all the indicators, all the history. Now you can see from the facade of Baku, including the urban development of the capital of Azerbaijan. I would say that one fact that Baku was selected the member of Creative Cities of UNESCO. So it means that such type of nomination showed that Baku maybe very in hard under, how to say, because 21st century, everything is changing rapidly, the many contents, many tendencies, but Baku was able to keep the face of urban development, although being capital, although being the port city, and although having many historical political change, as you know, that the regulation form, I mean, the Soviets, the Russian Tsarism, so these all different historical political systems could not harm the real urban development, urban phase of the city. It's very hard to keep the balance because there is a slogan of United Nations World Tourism Organization, respect and travel, because when the music is improving, the musical culture attracting, being an attraction radius of the point of interest, for example, Baku, Urfa, or different point of interest of the world, the people forget about this balance. So that's why mostly the cities or the urban development really gets challenged about in this context. But as I mentioned, you can feel it in Baku as well, because in different parts of the cities you can feel the different parts of music, different part of development of music of Azerbaijan, and especially Baku Absheron region, where the the city is situated.
Thank you so much, Sakina.
You're welcome.
That's very, I guess that's very interesting, and it sounds quite similar to what Ozan told us, but we'll come back to that later. I would now skip to.
Bir küçük katkıda bulunabilir miyim izninizle?
Yes, of course, Ozan, do so.
2018'de Bakü'yü ziyaret etme fırsatı bulduk. Üniversitemizde benim şefi olduğum bir çok sesli koro vardı. Bir küçük orkestra eşliğinde orada Milli Mugan Merkezi'nde ve Milli Konservatuar'da konserler verdik. Yani bunlar çok sesli koro eserleriydi. Büyük ilgiyle karşılandı. Aynı zamanda bizden bir talep de geldi. Yani Urfa'nın geleneksel müziğinden de örnekler istendi. Hazır öğrencilerimiz zaten uygundu. Çalgı istedik, çalgılar bulundu. Geleneksel müzik etkinliği de düzenledik. O da büyük ilgiyle karşılandı ve iki etkinlikte de benzer kişiler yer aldı. Bir arada bu sunumları gerçekleştirme fırsatımız oldu. Ben Bakü'nün bu batıya dönük yüzüne, üstelik de çok iyi bir müzik dinleyicisi var. Yani çok bilinçli dinliyor. Her evde bir piyano olduğu mesela söylenir, hep çok ünlüdür.
Exactly.
Bu konuda oldukça kaliteli bir dinleyiciye sahip, bizzat da tanıklık ettik çok gönüllüğüne.
Thank you very much. I will give some short reaction if Mr. Reiner, if you let me. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, the Baku, that's what I was meant. Thanks, Mr. Baldan, because you are the real witness. So in Baku, starting from folk music, for example, I'm coming from Nakhchivan. It's with the border, the only border with Turkey. So I'm coming from the village where is the old folk music that you have sounded here by Urfa, Kırşehir. It's very similar, for example, to our folk music. But although that's all folk music, all being near to the, for example, Şanlıurfa, Urfa. For example, my mom is a classic music player, and yes, in Azerbaijan, 90% of houses you will find a fortepiano, and that's why music is really. That's why I say that the city was able to keep. I would not say that the proper balance, but still music has balance with urban development of Baku. Thank you.
And no, thank you so much. And thank you, Ozan, for your reaction on that and for the information, for the experience you shared. And maybe we can say hello to Miguel Sanchez, who just joined us. Miguel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic, thank you. Welcome to our discussion. And of course, it's always nice to see people. So if you can switch on your camera, feel free to do so. It's nice to see you because I don't know you. And so, but coming back to what Sakina and Ozan just told us, though, so that they, from their perspective, there's a good balance between respecting the past, but looking into the future and fostering new developments. So that this means, and if we now look back what we just experienced the last month within this crisis, of course, where I guess in all the countries worldwide, live arts was locked down and blocked out, or whatever you want to call it. It didn't happen again. So most things moved into the internet. But we discuss about the digital aspects later. I would like to know, as you both mentioned, and maybe also Miguel could contribute to that, as he is the city council archaeologist. So you are, I would say, a connector between the past and the present. And maybe this could give us also an idea about the future. So how would you describe the contribution of culture in general, and music in special in your city, to urban development, and in the best case, to sustainable urban development? Is that happening, Miguel?
Well, Iria, as you know, is since October 2019, one of the UNESCO creative cities in the music modality. And our relation with music is not contemporary, but it comes from more than 2,000 years. We have a culture in this area, the Iberian culture, that it develops from the 6th century before Christ. And we have pottery with representations of music, dancers, and complex things with musicians. So our experience with music, we can say, is so now this relation this relation now this with music we can see with the two bands, the two music bands we have a rich cultural heritage, monuments, architectural heritage, in which we celebrate concerts, presentations. It's a cultural and economic motor, and in this crisis made by the COVID-19, I think it's a very important thing to preserve our heritage, our cultural heritage in relation with the music, and make people to love them and to appreciate them.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you so much to give us an insight about Liria. So, as you all said that now, what you said, I'm, as you have seen in this little text, and that's exactly where we are right now. We are in times where we all work on the same agenda, the Agenda 2030, which is the Sustainable Development Goals given by the United Nations, which means by all of our countries. So, but when we look at these global agendas like the Sustainable Development Goals or the New Urban Agenda, which is kind of a manual of that, culture is not really mentioned there. It's of course, in side sentences it's mentioned, but it's not in the focus. But culture is used for a lot of different things in urban environments. It's used for violent prevention, as an economic booster within the culture and creative industries, and all different things. So, and a bridge between different communities within the city, and so on. We can name it. Although culture plays such a major role, it's not really in the center of these agendas. So, which of course leads us to the question, maybe it's not so important as we think it is. or the agendas should be corrected. So what is the experience in your cities? And maybe we can hear Kirche here. Levent, I pronounced the name right, hopefully. Levent, as you are a music expert and tutor at the Kirche here municipality, what is the role, really the role of culture and music, aside of being a fancy stuff on stage, within a broader city strategy, urban development? You can hear us, Levent, right? No, you can't. So maybe I give this question, which brings us to the center of this session today. What the contribution could be, as it is not in the global agendas pretty much mentioned. So I'm asking, and maybe we can ask Mehmet, as you are head of the tourism development department, which is a center aspect of urban development. And of course, heritage sites are very important for tourism, but culture which is part of culture in general. But when we talk about the arts and music, and special in this, is this just a fancy thing you have for dancing in the evening, or is that really contributing to urban development in Urfa? And if so, how?
I mean, like, as you know, like we have really like old culture. Music and art is let's say like is one of the components which make Urfa people Urfa. You know, like Urfa people as a person, like, as a Urfanian, let's say, to put it like in a different sense. So especially in the urban development, there is an issue. Like when you check the urban areas. The urban areas, especially with the socioeconomic development of the economic system, they developed really fast. They didn't have like a chance to, you know, like to adapt for a long time. And Urfa is one of those cities. Like at the beginning of 2020, like 2000s, like it was like 300,000 people. Now we have like 2 million people. So it's like 6 times, and this is, you know, like making like a really fast cultural development. And adding to this part, you know, like adding to this immigration from the village to the city center, immigration from the Syrian part, we have like 423,000 Syrian refugees here also. And this makes it like really fast urban area development. And, you know, like in terms of like urban area development, first what comes is not like the arts and the culture. It comes a little bit later. But this arts and culture creates a new, you know, like sense of like new sense of culture, like especially arts. And especially in the COVID times, we saw arts, you know, like as if like first people are thinking about their needs, like, okay, we have to survive with this COVID times. We have to like, you know, like gain, you know, like have economic gains. But the thing is, when we pass like after 1 year, we feel that it's something huge is missing, especially arts. That's why in the terms of like, especially like in terms of COVID times, the municipalities started to, you know, like put bands on the buses and started to go around the city and show them that, you know, like arts is still continuing, this culture is still continuing, like especially they call it like arts buses. So people started to feel, okay, you know, like they started to understand that arts cannot be like put aside and they, you know, just, you know, like survive these economic times. They started to understand that it's like a really one component of the human being. That's why in Urfa, after this festival, we decided to have a kind of cultural and art master plan, just to make it like more better, you know, like especially for the urban area, because since we are the youngest city, we are the youngest province in Turkey. Turkey's average age is 34. Urfa is 21. So we have to put it as a, you know, like a component for the urban development, especially arts and culture, because like we see the difference between like the kids who has and the youth who has like access to the arts and culture, and we see the kids who has not have access to arts and culture. That's why in order to, you know, like make it in sense, we decided to prepare a master plan and apply it with the municipality and other institutions to make it as a one component of the urban development, not just like let's say a spice, but a main component in the like in the dish. So that's why we have this let's say this drastic change and like a main component for the urban development of the city.
Thank you so much, Mehmet. This is very good to hear, and also that you took the times of crisis to formulate a master plan, a cultural development plan, you could say. I guess this is not every city has a cultural development plan, which is very surprisingly still. But now you have one. That's great. But I would ask, and I will come back to you, Mehmet, later with a question regarding tourism. But now, Sakina, as you heard that, and I think you might report something similar from Baku. I would not be surprised. But that's all very nice. I would say a nice development plan. But who is paying for that? Is there also budget for it, or is it also only nice talking, or is there really the needed budget from the city?
To be honest, if you're, in general situations when it was not COVID, of course, there was a public-private partnership. And according to these 3P, state, private companies, and the industry, together were bringing it forward. But during COVID, like other parts of the economy, and of course, the music, urban industry, they really needed the support, the financial support from government. And in order, as you said that, for example, in Mehmet Uncu in his speech, as he said, the communities or the folk groups, or how to say the sensitive part segments of the urban development who would really need more financial support, they got monthly, payment from the government till some certain of time, because otherwise, when the COVID is over or during post-COVID time, we will really have challenge with all these moments. The people started to leave their, profession in order to find another earning solutions. So that's why in this moment during COVID, government's role was very precious, and government tried to keep keep the situation. Of course, it would be better because although that it was just even not 2 years, it really destroyed all the parts of the economy. But during the COVID time, in order to keep its the balance, maybe not good level, but in order not to lose this heritage, these people, these resources, the government invested on this issue, and financially, the monthly payment or giving the monthly salaries to the member of this industry, or to keeping, for example, in the previous panel, I spoke about the projects which was giving online performance to the people in order to keep, because people really need music to be on the wave, or creativity. It's not about only music, it's heritage, music, everything, yoga, as I mentioned in my previous speech, and invested on such type of projects in order to support the citizens, the mass of the people who really used to go to concerts, really used to go to festivals, or to be part of this urban development. And when it stopped, it's really was very hard to struggle. So that's why the role of government in that moment was really precious.
But as you heard, the government took the responsibility, and
yes,
government took the responsibility. So, but there's a kind of an echo. Can you hear that?
Yes, now I can hear you.
There's a strange echo now. It's getting better. So I would like, as we now flipped into the crisis, still in all, and let me just try to I don't know where the echo is coming from, so it seemed to be away. So
it's working now. Yeah.
Good. As we slipped into the crisis now with what you both just said, as I mentioned in this little text, that in a scientific definition, crisis means that there is a need for change. So if there's a need for change, and what we just heard, and also in terms of how we can come better out of this crisis and how we can be more resilient and for the next crisis, because that will not be the last one. But let's ask Ozan, as he is in the center of the education, so he's working with the young people. That's where everything starts. So is there in your department or in your organization, would you say that this crisis has changed the way you look at music and the way you will teach? Of course, it's too early to say now, but do you also feel that there's an urgency in changing, in a need for change, and what would that be? What could that be? What is needed now? Or the simple question is, what is needed now?
Teşekkür ederim. Deminki sorunuza da bir katkı yapmak isterim. Kültürün böyle hani Mehmet Bey de söylemişti, baharat olmaması, müziğin çok doğru bir nokta. Şimdi buna en önemli vurguyu Theodor Adorno yapıyor. Kültür endüstrisi kavramıyla. Yani müziğin, her türlü kültürel üretimin hızlı tüketim unsuru, hızlı tüketim aracı olarak, endüstriyel bir unsur olarak görülmesi elbette popülerleştirme ihtiyacı doğuruyor. Bu yüzden de kültür ürünleri bir noktadan sonra kısa süreli tüketilecek kimi ürünlere dönüşebiliyor. Bu kültüre zarar verebilecek bir durum olarak tespit edildikten sonra tabii bir ayrıma gidilmiş. Bu Alman GEMA telif kurumu vardır. Müziği tasnif ederken ciddi müzik ve işte eğlence müziği ya da hafif müzik olarak ayırıyor ve ona göre farklı bir yaklaşımda bulunuyor. Bunu Türkiye'de de kabul ediyor telif kurumları ve buna göre çeşitli destekler elbette sunuluyor. Ancak Şanlıurfa'da da şunu fark ettik, bu işte müziğin baharat olarak kullanılması, yani eğlence mekanlarında bir eğlence unsuru olarak kullanılması kültüre zarar verebiliyordu. Bu tespitlerimiz oldu yaptığımız çalışmalarda. Şanlıurfa Belediyesi ile birlikte bir çalışma yürüttük ve kültürel, otantik kültürel hali koruyan, geleneksel yapıyı koruyan etkinliklerin belediye mesela önünü açacak. Böyle bir ev düzenliyor, geleneksel bir Urfa evi. Orada geleneksel şekliyle Şanlıurfa müzikleri sunulacak. Onun dışında eğlence mekanlarına da Şanlıurfa müziğini tanımaya gelenlere bunu otantik haliyle en azından bir yarım saat sunmaları konusunda destek sunulacak. Bunun dışında kurslar açıldı. Şehirdeki müzisyenler en azından sertifikalı olacak belediyede ya da bu müzisyenlerin bir kısmı zaten öğrencimiz. Yani bu konuda haklısınız. Kültürün hızlı tüketilen bir araç haline dönülmesi onun korunması gerektiği durumunu da ortaya çıkarıyor. Bunun dışında bu süreçte bizim eğitimimizde bir değişim elbette oldu. Uzaktan eğitime geçtik. Ve de öğrencilerle internet üzerinden çalışmaya başladık. Çok çabuk üniversitemiz adapte oldu bu duruma ve tüm dersleri başından beri bu şekilde yürütüyoruz. Onun dışında uzaktan kimi ödevlendirmelerle, çalışmalarla bir ön hazırlık yaptıktan sonra öğrencilerle bir araya gelip mümkün olanlarla, yani uygulama açısından mesela derslerin bir kısmını son dönemde olan yüz yüze yaptık. Teorik kısmını uzaktan yaptıktan sonra uygulamalı kısımları yüz yüze yaptık ve bunda verim aldık. Bu festival kapsamında bizim de üniversitemizin bir müzik grubu bu şekilde hazırlanarak bir müzik icrası yaptı. Elbette sanat eğitimi yüz yüze ve birebir yapılması gereken bir eğitim. Ancak uzaktan eğitime de bu şekilde hibrit bir çözüm bulabildiğimizi düşünüyorum.
Thank you, Baldan, for this overview and the intervention on the previous question. Miguel, again, I'm coming back to your role as a council archaeologist and asking that heritage, when we talk about heritage, so we must be aware that because we're mixing words, heritage, culture, music. So it's difficult sometimes because when we say culture, we don't mean arts very often. So, but I'm coming back to heritage now, which is not only musical heritage, but also heritage sites, I guess. And sometimes the focusing on heritage is criticized because heritage sometimes is very static. So there's no development because you only look back and you preserve. It's about preservation, but not development. So as an archaeologist, of course, you're faced with heritage all the time. How can this static issue become a dynamic contribution to urban development, especially in crises like that?
We are trying right now to because with all the crises, and especially with this crisis.
Miguel, we can't hear you very well. Can you come closer to the mic?
I'm having some problems with the audio.
If you raise this up.
Can you hear me?
It's better.
Better?
Yes.
I said we are trying we are working for the cultural heritage has been not static anymore, because the actual crisis and other crises like the 2008 has very negative impact in our economies. So we are working in other ways to dynamize our cultural heritage. For example, tomorrow we start the EME. We call it EME, the Early Music Festival of Iria, and it celebrates in a medieval church of the 13th century. It was excavated in the 2005, I remember. It was an old mosque also, and it's the scenario for some concerts, and the way for the people can come to archaeological site in other view with other eyes. The same way in the Roman baths, one of the most important sites in Hispania, in the Roman Hispania, and in the Arab baths, we are making some presentations and concerts in these amazing places. It's another way to dynamize this.
And what music was played there in these two sites, in the Roman bath and in the church? Music?
All kind of music, since classical music, old music, contemporary music, poetry, poems, books presentations. Is a platform for the people, for dynamize for the people this cultural heritage with concerts of all types.
Miguel, thank you so much. I guess this is a wonderful example, and you use this nice word platform for it, how to take a heritage site as a connector to the present, as you use it as a platform, and you give it as a platform to different types of musical heritage or developments. And I think this is a wonderful example to keep the past alive, and it's not only a static thing you go there and visit, and your children don't want to do that because it's so boring. But you keep it alive with filling it with all sorts of music. I guess that's a wonderful example. And I would like, and I think, as I heard, as I can imagine, Sakina and also Mehmet and Osan, you might have the same in your city. But coming now to while we're listening to this, and I guess this is a very good example how culture and music can contribute to urban development, because this is also urban development, that you breathe in new life into cultural heritage sites, I guess. So, but coming to Mehmet, I would like to ask you, and then I come to you, Sakina, immediately. What is regarding tourism, and if you say culture and heritage and music, what is the biggest driver for tourism in Urfa? What do you know about that?
I mean, I am the head of this department, like I know it like really well about. The biggest driver of Urfa tourism is the cultural tourism. People are coming for seeing the cultural areas in Urfa. For example, when you check the international arrivals to Turkey, the main tourism type is the sun, sea, and sand. Like 3S, let's say, tourism types. But Urfa, since Urfa is a part of Mesopotamian area, like from Sumerian times, and then when you go back even to Neolithic age, we have like the areas with different types. We have the Neolithic age times, we have times from Assyrian times, from Roman, like Roman heritage, Islamic heritage, and like Abgar Kingdom heritage. So the main thing is the cultural areas, like especially when we call it, and those are the different civilizations which left like scratches in Urfa from 12,000 years till now, like till end of 13th century. So the main driver is this cultural tourism, is the main driver of Urfa tourism. Okay, we have like ecotourism areas and different types, but the main thing is cultural areas. And especially Urfa is like, in the past, like 10 years ago, it was Balıklıgöl, like the Abraham Pond. Like it's more like religious tourism, like it was like the main driver. But after 10 years ago, especially like, of course, 1995 was the first excavation time of Göbekli Tepe. And thanks to Klaus Schmidt, like he's German also, like you. And it was the main, let's say, it started to become like the main driver after 2017, especially 18, because like Göbekli Tepe is now in the UNESCO World Heritage Site after 2018. And people are like coming to see Göbekli Tepe, how the Neolithic age civilization built a temple or ritual site. So the main thing is the culture. But as when you check the tourists, one of the main drivers is also to attend Sra nights. Of course, the Dr. Ozan, as he said, that they made it as a kind of like a pop culture, but still, like for tourists, like to attend a Sra night, to listen to Urfa music. Of course, like since it became like a fast consuming area, it's also like degenerating. But still, when you say Urfa, they are still like, okay, we have to attend to Sra night. Plus, they are going and checking the customs, the traditions, the living, let's say, bazaars from Ottoman times. Because like Urfa bazaars, especially traditional bazaars, they are still alive. People are buying like spices from there, copper from there. They're just, like going around. And we have also another part, Haran. Haran is like, Haran was the last capital city of Umayyad Empire, and it was like a kind of scientific area. So people are coming and seeing like different types of people and experiencing this culture and different, let's say, language, which you cannot find maybe in different parts of Turkey, like Kurdish, Arabic. Those are like, you can see them, like hear them in the streets. That's why the culture is the main driver of the tourism of the city. Let's say like 95% of the main tourism is going through culture.
Thank you, Mehmet. Thank you so much. Now we have a good idea how tourism in Urfa looks like. I would like to jump now from there, or to connect this with something we can, in all our countries, we could see in the last 2 decades, let's say, that there was a disconnection between cultural activity and the audience. So cultural presentations and the audience. So in some areas like Western classical music, even in Germany, so the number of audience is decreasing. So there were a lot of so-called audience development programs, as it looked like it's very much needed to focus more on your audience. because the way we presented culture and the kind of music we presented, not so many people were interested in that anymore. That's what we have seen around the globe, I guess, in the last 2 decades, maybe mainly in Western Europe. But there was also a discussion about this disconnecting between the presentation on stage and the audience, that it didn't reflect the diversity in the city that much, and that there was a lack of participation. So I heard, as Miguel told us about the concerts within this cultural heritage site, and the example Sakina told us, and Ozan also, this brings me to the question, what is the level of participation in your cities regarding music? Let's focus on music. So what is the participatory arts that you have within your development programs or within your cultural programs? As I think this is first a good way to connect better with the audience, but also to have a bigger impact for urban development or change. So Sakina, maybe you can answer this question first.
Thank you. Yes, because as you said, the tendencies are changing, and of course, all the demand and supply issue that you have to fit on the current demand of the tourist or visitor or the local people, and of course, the sustainable development goals of UN. And the participation is really in high level, because people are coming not only top visual priority, but for top feeling priority. When you are making any links, any hooks, or when you are making a synergize between the local attraction, between the folk roots, when you are making related something with gastronomy and music, when you are synergizing music with any elements of the sustainability, any elements of urban development, you really get the real face of the destination where you are situated in. And by this way, you really help the person, the listener or the visitor, to touch to the heart of this destination. So in that point, when we say that, no words needed in that case. I mean, the all synergized elements shows and let you to be in the middle of this atmosphere. I said in my first speech in the first panel is that here we're doing related mostly first the folk music, that we are going in the remote areas where sometimes the local people don't know that such type of villages are existed. The local folk groups are created from the village people, which is, I mean, they're performing, they're keeping, and they're preserving all their mental values in this group. The second, mostly here in Baku, in Azerbaijan, it's in trend to make a live performance, jazz, electronic music from the very famous reserves and point of interest places. I sent some links to the chat in the previous panel. And the third is coming from the sites. It's museums, firstly, and for example, museum at night, that by having tour along the museum, there is a live music, maybe ethno jazz, or electro jazz, because there are new tendencies is growing up, as you know, with a lot of composers, the local composers, mostly here in Baku, they're giving new touch and new breath to the music, and participation, that's why is in high level, and always there are big interest to such type of interesting concepts.
Sakina, thank you so much for the impressive views you gave us from Baku. And by the way, if someone wants to ask a question, just raise your voice or send it in the chat. And Levent, are you still silent, or can you hear us, Levent? No, Levent is still silent. So coming back to the participatory arts, to the participation aspect of music, and of course, Ozan, you are in the center of that because you are teaching, so you are in the education field. You need people to participate, so that there's an interaction. How do you bring young people to music? How do you ensure that your university is not drying out because no one is interested anymore, because it's so old-fashioned and everything is so boring, and you can have everything on YouTube all the day. Why should I go there? How do you do that, Ozan?
Teşekkür ederim. Çok güzel bir soru. Bu daha önce tartışılmış İngiltere'de de bu Alman besteci Mahler'den kalma bir oturarak sessizce çok da tepki vermeden müzik dinleme alışkanlığı var. Aslında Avrupa müzik kültürünün geleneğinde doğrudan seyirciyle yerine göre bir pazar yerinde karşı karşıya gelip doğrudan tepki alma geleneği de vardır. Gençleri de sanırım çeken bu. Londra'da müzelerde konserler verilmeye başlandı. Yani müzedeki gezilen alanlarda oradaki tarihi eserlerin arasında bir anda bir arya okuyor bir opera sanatçısı mesela. Bu çok ilgi çekmeye başladı. Hatta bunun böyle etkinliklerin salon içinde olmasının seyirciyi müzeye talebi de arttırdığı görüldü. Biz de bunu Urfa'da denedik. Şanlıurfa Müze Müdürü ile birlikte konserler organize ettik müzeler haftası kapsamında. Öğrencilerimiz mesela bir koro konseri verdi. Müzenin avlusunda, dışarıda, dış mekanda. Onun dışında müze içindeki çeşitli tarihi düzenlenmiş alanların içinde aryalar okundu. Biz de klasik müzik örnekleri seslendirdik ve çok ilgi gördü. Yani bir anda orada seyirciler arttı, doğrudan tepki aldık, hoşlarına gitti. Müzenin içinde çeşitli mekanlarda bu konserleri düzenledik. Bu öğrencileri de motive eden bir durum oldu. Yeni genç izleyicileri klasik müziğe adapte etmek için onların gelmesini beklemek değil, onlara gitmek en akıllıca seçenek. Bu hatta gene İngiltere'de konser salonunda sadece gençlere dönük oturma alanlarını kaldırıp ayakta dinlenecek şekilde konserler düzenlendi. Yani daha dinamik olsun diye. Biz de sokakta klasik müzik dinletileri planladık. Yaptık bunu önceki yıllarda. Müze alanları içinde yaptık. Aynı İspanya'da tecrübe edildiği gibi biz de Harran Üniversitesi'nin aynı zamanda şu an mevcut üniversitemizin de sembolü olan oradaki kalıntılarda Harran'da konser düzenledik. Klasik müzik dinletileri düzenledik ve insanlar klasik müzikle tanıştı. Hem geleneksel müzikle hem klasik müzikle, modern klasik müziklerle ve bunlara çok olumlu tepkiler verdi. Benim görüşüm dinleyiciye tekrar gitmek gerektiği. Çünkü bu sosyal medya ya da popüler kültür ortamında onlara ulaşmak klasik müzikle çok zor. Ancak onlara gidip gerçekten akustik müziği dinlettiğinizde olumlu tepkiler alıyorsunuz. Bundan öğrenciler de büyük faydalar sağlıyorlar. Teşekkür ederim.
Ozan, thank you so much. That gave us a good example how we could connect the site that it's space related, the music and the music participation, I guess. So thank you so much, Ozan. So as we are still in the pandemic crisis, we are already talking about post-pandemic, whatever post means. If you know the date, please tell me when it is. So, but the next or the biggest thing we're talking about already now, and we did before, but it's increasing now, as you know, which a lot of people say it's the more serious crisis, even more than the pandemic one, is of course, you know, the climate crisis or climate disaster, or however you want to name that. So we have the European Green Deal, which is a huge program by the European Union, and this and all the different areas in the world will follow with same or similar strategies, I guess. And this will affect all different parts of society. This we can see now already. So if we would like to reduce, if we're only talking about CO2, and we'd like to reduce that, so carbon free. If you would like to have a carbon-free life, that means all different aspects of life have to be carbon-free. That means also the cultural sector should have green strategies, and especially the music sector. So this is a huge wave coming over us right now, and this will affect everything in Germany. Just to give you an example, it's discussed that public funding will be bonded on a green strategy of your festival, of your institution, of whatsoever, of your museum, of your theater. And this is there's an organization which is called Green Touring, and so on. So, and Mehmet, as you are head of the tourism department, and you know that, for example, if we take Venice as an example, which is the very well-known example, they live out of tourism, but tourism is destroying the city. So there's a direct impact of everything we do to the environment. And so tourism is connected to environment, music, touring, artist mobility, which is still one of the major goals of UNESCO, to foster artistic mobility. So within the tourism strategy, where music and culture, and we learned that, is very much embedded, what is the role? What can tourism and culture, and especially music, contribute to reduce carbon? Mehmet.
I mean, it's an interesting and a deep question because climate change is the main and major, threat to the whole world. We are not you are living in Germany, we are living in Turkey, and Sakina in Azerbaijan, Miguel in Spain. We are now in the same pocket, we had each country had different issues, but now it is like a major issue because the world turned out to be a small village that we have to think all together. And it's not like making, we call it like makeup strategies, makeup strategies just, covering what is, going on underway. We have to, deal with in a real sense. That's why I'm really happy that European Union is taking the lead, especially with the Green Deal, putting climate change in front, and we see that also the economy is going to have to in a Green Deal. And in terms of tourism sector, we in 2019 we passed 1 billion tourists, all around the world, and tourism industry is not as green as they were thinking, because there's this people are traveling, going around, and we can see the over tourism issue, which destroyed the local culture, plus which destroyed the local environment. That's why the main strategy should be cooling down. We have to cool down and slow down. The pace of the consumption, the pace of the consuming the world and everything is in a fast way that it's also causing the warming. That's why we have to cool the things down and make it less slow. And if we make it less slow, people will feel it more, in a sense that, in a more deep way. Maybe Dr. Ozan will also contribute about this, mass consumption and making it fast consumption of the music also. This mass consumption and fast consumption of the music, it doesn't really make it in a deep sense. And also we see the generation difference, maybe in a broader sense. There is a generation difference, and also the digitalization. In terms of culture and music should have contribute to increase this culture. We have to give it to the people. For example, when you watch the clips, the old clips, there's it's not really green. Let's imagine about luxury, everything is luxury. But this luxury, they are trying to give you we call it fictitious consumption, or let's say there was a kind of another word I just didn't remember. But this consumption make more and more in music, and in this especially the image that we are giving is to make it calm, to make it more peaceful. Especially in Urfa, we have also Sufi music, which is taking people to the inner side and making it more calm and slow. So this can contribute on it. And also we can go back to let's say 100 years ago, what we had in our hand, in terms of architectural culture. We were using the the local material to build our house. And those materials, like it was like according to the culture, like according to the climate that we have. Because like 40, 45 degrees is a normal, not just now, but it was like normal 100 years ago. And we built our house accordingly. And that's why like we have to, like refer to the back, like to the tradition, not like steel and, like steel and glass, which is like steel and glass everywhere. In Sweden, in Urfa, in Brazil, and everywhere in the world. In Azerbaijan, and everywhere in the world. That's why like we have to use it like as a kind of tool of education for consumption. And we have to cool down. And we have to, like start to, like, we call it relocalization. That was a globalization. But now we have to relocalization because everything is going to be consumed. But then what we will have, like look at our, let's say, clothes, like all of us like have the same. That's why like there's a we are referring back to our own culture. We are referring back to keep it, to save it, but at the same time to modernize it. That's why in terms of tourism, we have to like to cool down. We need tourists, but we need like more like who will come and like just to experience it, not just like take a picture and just go in 10 minutes. That's why this should be like cool down, and music can be a good way for educating people and make it more reasonable.
Mehmet, thank you so much. I must really tell you, this is one of the best things I heard about this topic, and a wonderful claim that we have to slow down and cool down. And it has two meanings of the word. We have to cool down, so the climate will cool down then.
Yeah.
It's very cool, Mehmet. Very, very cool. So and a wonderful example that you had where you and Ozan also said that you relearn the audience to listen and to slow down and to slow down the music reception. I'd say this is a very, very wise strategy, I guess, and it's an interesting point as when you say we have to slow down, and I understood that you mean it in all different levels of society and all different levels of acting we're having and consumption, of course. So on the one hand, we have to slow down, but on the other hand, digitalization had speeded up everything very, very fast, light years ahead now. So how can this be combined, Sakina, slowing down and reducing the impact of carbon, but at the same time everything is speeding up? If you say something, I have to react immediately on social platforms, otherwise I'm too late. So how can this come together? And as Mehmet said, and I agree, and he gave us some wonderful examples from Urfa, how can music help in this regard?
So this is, as I'm representing here, a tourism board. From a tourism perspective, of course, the climate change, as already Mehmet mentioned, it's not problem exactly of the country's problem already over the planet, unfortunately. And the cool down, there is a slogan of UNWTO that travel, enjoy, respect. That it means that when you are traveling for purpose music, or music is one of the best reasons that people are traveling to going to concerts and festivals, but parallelly enjoying, the people should respect the cultural and natural heritage of the destination that they're visiting. So that's why the cool down, how to say, this invitation, the people making cool down, it could be different, but the basement of this, that when you are, because we cannot stop the movement of the people all over the planet, as Mehmet said, that it's already 1 billion in 2019, but we cannot prevent, or how we struggle with de-tourism or overcrowded tourism, we have to raise the awareness that please, when you are traveling, when you're enjoying, please respect to the natural heritage, when you don't touch the exponent or exhibit in the museum, and don't touch to the part of the nature, because in the museum there is a strict rules, but in the open nature or the elements that are formulating the climate, this is always in the uncontrolled areas. Even in the natural reserve, it's very hard to control the visitors. So that's why music in that context would be, there was a very nice question, the first one, that the music and the sustainable development goals of UN, of course, one of them and the main of them, I will say, is climate, and music could be one of the good tool about the raising the awareness, because we know the world stars, we know the big donor organizations all over the world, they're financing the big music projects because music is one of the best language to speak and to deliver your message to the mass people. And I think that music could be one of the good tool that to promote and represent, how to be respectful to the natural heritage.
Sakina, thank you so much for these super important aspects, I guess. And I would like to ask Ozan, as we heard, and Sakina came back to the contribution of music to deliver the SDGs, and Mehmet also said that this can play a big role. And Sakina mentioned SDG 13, which is the climate SDG. So, Ozan, how can that be embedded in the education system? A green strategy or a sustainable strategy?
Teşekkür ederim. Bu şekilde gençlere dönük, öğrencilere dönük bilinçlendirme konuşmaları ya da konserlerin teması bu şekilde belirlenerek konserler düzenlenebilir. Yani çok güzel katkıda bulundu tüm konuşmacılar. Ben de esprili bir şey ekleyeyim. Temmuz-Ağustos'ta Urfa'da 40-45 derecede bir konser düzenleyelim. Küresel ısınmanın sonucunda konser pratikleri neye dönecek? İnsanlar görsün. Yani derece 1,5-2 derece yükseldi sıcaklıklar. Bunlar tespit edilmiş şeyler ve bu işin sonlandırılması lazım. Bu işin sonu yok. Yani oldukça sıcak bir yerde biz bulunuyoruz Urfa'da ve Temmuz-Ağustos'ta yaşam çok zorlaşıyor. İnsanlar bunu tecrübe etse, gelip burada Urfa'da yazın ortasında dursalar bence kesinlikle daha serinlemeye ihtiyaç olduğunu küresel anlamda görecekler. Bu esprili bir yaklaşım olarak ortaya koymak istedim. Ancak gençlerin bu konuya dikkatini çekecek şey, müzikle çok iç içeler. Bugün kimi görsek öğrencilerimizden kulağında bir kulaklık var, müzik dinliyor. O zaman müzikle birlikte yapılan toplantılarda, çeşitli etkinliklerde bunu belediyeler de gençlere dönük bu tip organizasyonlar yapıyorlar. Tema olarak seçilebilir ya da bir konser düzenlenir. Bu UNESCO'nun bir başlığı da seçilebilir. Küresel ısınma temalı konserler düzenlenebilir. O konserlerin içinde küçük, kısa bilgilendirme notları, yapılabilecek küçücük değişikliklerle yaşam tarzımızda aslında ne kadar çok enerjiyi koruyabileceğimizi, geri dönüşüme nasıl katkı sunabileceğimizi küçük ipuçlarıyla ekleyebiliriz ve bu küçük değişiklikler zaman içinde büyük farklar yaratacaktır. İnsanlara ulaşmak için, özellikle gençlere, gerçekten onların dilinden, onların sevdiği mecralarda konuşmak lazım. Sevecekleri konserlerin içinde, çok beğendikleri etkinliklerin içinde kimi geri dönüşümü olmayan ürünlerin kullanılması ya da işte sürdürülebilirlik temalı fikirler onlara ulaştırılabilir. Öbür türlü bu çok ciddi bir konuşma elbette onlara ulaşmayacaktır. Yapılacak bir sempozyum bu konuda onlara ulaşmayacaktır elbette. Gene onlara gitmek lazım. Yani çok ciddi yapılmış bir panel, bir sempozyum çok güzel fikirleri ortaya koyuyor. Ama bunların ana fikirlerini alıp gençlere gene götürmek lazım. Geniş kitlelere götürmek lazım. İşte kullanılan kimi gazların mesela sera etkisi anlatıldığında daha çevreci ürünlere insanlar yönelecektir. Bunu fark ettiklerinde değişiyorlar. Yani şu kloroflorokarbon gazları mesela. Şunu kullanın, şunu kullanmayın. Dikkat etmeye başlıyor insanlar. Tekrar ben insanlara burada gitmek gerektiğini, yani çok ciddi akademik çevrelerde kalmaması gerektiğini, bu çalışmaların hani bir entelektüel birer çaba olarak kalmaması, doğrudan insanlara basit sloganlarla, ipuçlarıyla, belki basit bir şarkı sözüyle, çünkü popüler olacak küçük bir jingle ya da şarkı sözü dilden dile dolaşıp müthiş etkiler oluşturabilir. Basit bir ürünün işte çevreci olanının kullanılması fikri bile aşılansa hani küresel anlamda büyük sonuçlar ortaya çıkabilir. Müzik bu yüzden pasif olarak da dinlendiği için, yani çevrenizde duyduğunuz bir melodi, sevdiğiniz bir müzik tarzı olmasa bile sizi etki eder. Yani bir şekilde müzikle bu insanlara ulaştırılabilir. Bir küçük slogan ortaya çıkar. Küçük bir slogan, bunun hoş bir melodiyle birleşir. Herkes bunu mırıldanmaya başlar ve o bakarsınız o dönüşüm olmuş. Mesela daha çevreci bir slogan insanlara ulaşmış. Müziğin böyle bir katkı yapabileceğini düşünüyorum.
Hasan, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this contribution. I'm very excited to hear that Urfa is very at the forefront of the green culture movement, I must say, and such innovative ideas in the city. It's great to hear, and the same of Sakina in Baku. So there's an awareness already within our music cities, and Urfa is a music city, I must say. And Miguel, green music, green culture in Liria. Is there awareness already within the community, or do you have to build that up, or is it already there?
I think we have to think in other ways to show our heritage, based in museum and outdoor sites. We cannot have visits with 300 people like in the old times, almost for these moments. Our model of sustainable tourism is oriented the themes more and more to the local or national visitors who don't search so much sun and sea, but culture and architecture and archaeological sites and music and cultural entertainment. Not the concerts with 100 persons, but people in the area really loves music, and in Valencia in general, since they're children. We have more than 1,000 professional musicians in a town with 32,000 people. So the audience, as you can imagine, goes from the 3-month child to the 90-year-old person. We have 2 historical music bands. One of them founded in the beginnings of the 20th century, and the other one founded in the beginnings of 19th century. It is an attractive cultural thing to attract the persons in the near places of Liria. I think the objective is go in the way of the local sustainable development.
Miguel, thank you so much. So I can hear that we are all aware of the situation and the need to change, not to get the next crisis over us. So we were talking about, I think we were coming to an end now. Right, Helen?
Yeah, kind of. But if you have another question, we can continue.
Yes. Yeah. No. So sorry. Of course.
No.
I think this is very important what we just heard. As this is now things are coming together. All the things we were talking about turn out to be the same issue. So we were talking about starting with the SDGs, and Sakina reminded us. And we came to securing budgets. We have to speak about that for a minute, maybe. and then we came to audience development, participation, and of course crisis in general, but the climate crisis in special, and that music and culture can contribute. But again, I must say again that and Levent is still not hearing us, right? Because it would have been interesting to hear from Levent, but doesn't matter. And if there's a question or contribution from the panel, just send it in the chat, or just ask the question if you have a question. So I think playing music or producing music or working within the music field now means something totally different than 50 years ago. We all know that. It's a huge business. It's the culture and creative industries part. It's education, and it's awareness building for this and that. It's the social aspect, the development aspect. So it's super overloaded, the role of music and culture in general. So it gets more and more important. And Mehmet said that during the crisis, when live culture was absent, how important it was to do something for the citizens, as they were missing it. So there must be something with it, with culture and music, as we all think. But so as it is so overloaded, it means we need more resources to deliver all that what is needed coming out of culture and music. So that means we have to ensure the budgets, and that means we have to work closer with the policymakers. It might be the mayors or the regions or the national governments, of course. So I think, and this could be our last round, what is your connection? And I mean, some of you are from municipalities, and Mehmet is the head of tourism board, so you are a municipality. But what is the connection between the artistic scene outside and what is and the policy making side? So if this has to be connected, so we have to ensure the budgets on the other side, and we have to also influence the policy making. So what is the infrastructure that is needed now, or what is already there? Maybe we can close the session with answering this. And it's important for Ozan from the education side, and of course Mehmet from the tourism side. And I would like to hear also Miguel from his perspective, and Sakina, of course. Maybe we start with Ozan from the education. How can education ensure budgets and influence the policy making level?
Teşekkür ederim. Eğitim konusunda yani üniversitelerin kendi bütçelerinin sanata ayrılan kısmını tekrar aslında düşünmemiz gerekiyor. Çünkü sanat üretimi, pozitif bilimler gibi hemen geriye böyle maddi dönüşü olan şeyler değil. Yani bu açıdan da bakılmaması gerekiyor. Neticede bir patent alınır, ondan sonra bir ürün üretilir ve bundan büyük gelirler elde edilebilir. Bunun maddi bir geri dönüşümü olduğu için elbette bu kitleleri ilgilendiren bir duruma dönüşüyor. Politika üretenler de her zaman fonları arttırmayı öncelikli hedef haline getirdikleri için ortaya desteklenen eğitim faaliyetlerinin daha çok patentleri oluşturacak, ondan sonra bir üretime dönüşecek, endüstriye katkı sunacak şeylere dönük olması durumu ortaya çıkıyor. Yani politikacılar daha çok gelir arttıracak alanlara yöneliyor. Aynı bakış açısı eğer sanata karşı uygulanırsa ortaya işte bu kültür endüstrisi tehlikesi çıkıyor. Yani popüler bir müzik ya da sanat oluşturup bunu pazarlayabilmek ve ondan gelir elde edebilmek fikri ortaya çıkıyor. İşte bu kültüre zarar veren bir şey. Yani diğer alanlarda işe yarayabilecek bakış açıları burada yaramıyor. Gerçi diğer alanlarda da işe yaramayabilir. Mesela şimdi daha pahalı çevreci otomobiller ya da çevreci yeşil enerji kullanan araç gereçler biraz daha pahalı. Ama bunun bu masrafa değeceğini düşünüyorum, desteklenmesini. Yani dönüşümü, karbon tüketimini azaltacak şekilde dönüşümü desteklenmesi lazım. bu yönde politikalar üretilmesi lazım. Ve bu da biraz elbette masraf getirecek. Müzik açısından da sanata bakış açısının da artık bu kar ve endüstri bakış açısının dışına çıkması gerekiyor. Aslında sanırım dünyamızın temel sorunu en çok kar edecek yapılara yönelmemizden. Bu bize karbon kirliliği olarak dönüyor. Müzikte ondan sonra popülerleşme, hızlı tüketim olarak dönüyor. Hızlı bir yaşam olarak dönüyor ve bu daha çok kirlilik, ısınma ve kültürel değeri düşük ürünler olarak dönüyor. Yani bizim insanlar olarak artık bu üretim tüketim ilişkilerine bakış açımızı değiştirmemiz lazım. Elbette çok büyük gelirler getirmeyebilir çevreci tasarımlar. Ondan sonra yeni binalar tasarlamalıyız, yeni araçlar, çevreci ve müziğe kültür olarak bakmalıyız. Bir endüstri ürünü işte sonunda ortaya çok kolay pazarlanacak, kolay tüketilecek şeyleri çıkacağı bir alan olarak değil. Aslında insanoğlu olarak bu yeni yüzyılda artık bakış açımızı değiştirmemiz gerekiyor tüm alanlarda. Bu müzik için de geçerli. Yoksa kendi kendimizi yaşadığı dünyayı kirletiyoruz, ısıtıyoruz ve kültürünü kötü kullanıyoruz. Kötü bir kültürel yaklaşıma giriyoruz. Bu bizde daha da fazla bir bozulma yaratır. O zaman bizim bilinçlenmeye ve değişime ihtiyacımız var. Bu dünyayla ve kültürle etkileşimde. Bunun da Birleşmiş Milletler'in UNESCO'nun öncülüğünde başarılabilecek konular olduğunu düşünüyorum. Bunun gündemde tutulması, bu konuda etkinlikler yapılması ve anlatılması gerekiyor.
Ozan, thank you very much for these wonderful aspects that you reached out here. It's super important what you just said, and I think it's really great as to how you combine the culture and market and greenhouse aspects. So there is, of course, a connection between that. Thank you so much. Very, very important aspects. Sakina, tell us about your thoughts in this final round.
Thank you, Mr. Baldan. It was really interesting moments, and I really feel very similar and mutual connections between the destination that I'm speaking about. Of course, when we are improving or developing any part, it's not only about music or something else, any part of the industry and any part of culture, they all goals of sustainability is important because we have to handle and present what we have in our hands to the next generation in a better way. So that's why education plays here a very big role, and music could be one of the tools of these educational campaigns because it doesn't matter how you make your awareness campaigns and awareness tools. The most important that to deliver the message to the right target group. And all these educational, activities, the music activities should serve to the protecting the all goals of sustainability in order to be to make the mankind in the safe side. That's why in our country as well, there are, if to be honest, not everything is going in proper because sometimes the concept stays on the paper. They don't go to the implementation. So that's why I think from my perspective, the experts should work on this as well, because the implementation phase, the transferring the paper to the reality, mostly the experts and the communities has problem gap in this period of process, because if we don't approach sensitive to this phase, what's written on the paper will just burn out. So that's why the implementation phase should be one of the main directions that the experts and the world scientists, or we like the members of municipalities and different entities should work on. Thank you.
Sakina, thank you so much for these words that echoed what Baldan said, but also gave new aspects. And it's wonderful, as you are representing the tourism board. You are from the practical side, of course. You are very connected to people, and that is where the impact can be very huge. So I'm glad to hear what you said. Thank you so much, Sakina. Let's go and hear what Miguel said, and then we come back to our host and your colleague from the tourism board area. So Miguel, final words to this.
I think it is necessary in the situation of pandemic and crisis we are living, politics of management to connect our cultural heritage resources like the archaeological sites with the musical phenomenon, to take advantage of the progressive increase that cultural tourism is living since the beginnings of the 21st century. The incorporation of music in the school programs and in the cultural visits and the realization of concerts open to all is the key to potency the cultural resources of Iria and elevate the number of visitors. The next generations will be, I think, and I hope, will be the ones who will take care and promote our heritage, and we have to work in this direction.
Miguel, thank you so much also for your contribution that is aligned, I must say, with what Ozan said and Sakina, and it's good to hear that we are all working on the same level of awareness and ideas, and it's great, and over the different countries, and that's very nice. Thank you, Miguel. And the final word for you, Mehmet, as you are hosting this session with Urfa. So, Mehmet.
So shall I make the final word about the financial part or like the general one? Okay, about the financial part.
Oh, yeah, you can combine, please.
So about the financial part is like one of the most important parts because you have like scarce resources, especially in terms of COVID times. The currency rate is like dropping, especially in Turkey. So we have kind of like financial situation. That's why we have the limited budget and we have to make the prioritization. And strategy comes with prioritization. So the strategy is like the way of like choosing, like prioritizing the what's called the whatever we are going to do. So especially like in terms of like musical or cultural activities, we have to diversify the financial part with the sponsorship. And I was checking like which kind of sponsors we are taking. We have to develop a code of ethics for sponsorship also. For example, yesterday there was like a football game. It was like 2 days ago, and there was like let's say a spirit company was they making the sponsorship, but the spirit company is like consuming both the world and us. So in my opinion, like especially in terms of culture and musical activities, we have to have a code of ethics for the sponsorship, which is one of the main financial part. Like green companies can make the sponsorship, or we can take them as a sponsorship, so they will be like more strong. And it will be like a code of ethics in terms of like making the production side to behave more, like better for the world. This is one of my ideas that I was thinking, and since as Dr. Baldan and Sakina and Miguel also suggested that we have to like make a kind of like not a short term, but maybe long term, like strategies. But we have to, implement them really fastly. So long term, but fastly. Like we have to like have this sense. And also, I can see with this digitalization, as human being, as like as consumer, or let's say as this side, we are decreasing to like 2 senses. We are like 5 senses of a being, but we are decreasing with 2 senses because of the digitalization and computers. So we have to, like in terms of awareness rising side, we have to remember we have like 5 senses. That's why like to be in the world, not just, like to be in a flat screen. So this is another issue. And in my opinion, SDGs are really important, especially I'm really happy that UN is taking this initiative and making it like the other countries and the other cities to be more green. That's why I'm really happy, and happy about this, and it should, you know, like help us to change our behavior. I'm not sure about like our generation or the generation before us, but I believe that we can make it like more different for the next generation. We call it like new generation, the generations, and it takes time. It takes time, and at the beginning we should teach it as a culture also, you know, like as a behavior and a culture. And this will make sense and save the world maybe in this sense. And we should, you know, like put more finance in the awareness raising activities and making like more long-term program, not a short-term program. And like, especially I'm really happy with the European Union, like making like 10 years programs. So this is the financial part. Like we have to like, and I am like as a general manager of URFA, I will put it like into consideration. Like I was putting it less, but now I will put it like, especially like when taking the sponsors, I will ask them like if they are green sponsor or not. Maybe we will develop a code of ethics about sponsorship of these cultural areas, so we will make it like more viable. As a last point, I'm really thankful for you, Rainer, for Tamara, for Miguel, Sakina, Dr. Ozan, our Metropolitan Municipality, and our hero Helen, like make it like everything happen. So I'm really thankful for the whole cities, like for the participation. And our online festival is like a green festival because we didn't have to, you know, like travel or go. But maybe it's not like, it's like a less experienced part of it, but still a more green part of it. So we are happy in this sense. And next time we will be like happy at least to host 1 or 2 persons to our city to come back to, you know, like to the origins, because like it's Mesopotamia, like the dispersion of, you know, like civilization all over the world. So we are really welcoming, and you are more than welcome to host you here, maybe for the next sessions, for the next activities, and to see you here and to be together, like as we are saying about it was the motto of the festival, holding on and bonding beyond. So I'm really happy, really thankful for all of the participants. It is the, let's say, the first spark, let's say, first international spark for our city, and we hope we will get UNESCO Music title. If we get it, it's okay. If we don't get it, it's also okay. We are believing that it will increase our like mutual understanding altogether. And thank you very much again.
Mehmet, thank you so much for this sum up, I must say, and for these valuable words and the friendly words. And of course, thank you so much for the invitation. It would be absolutely nice to come to URFA and share a meal together and sit and talk about the things we were talking today. And thank you so much to everyone. I learned a lot from you, dear colleagues. It was great talking with you, and I hope we can do that again soon, virtually or the better in reality, and to share a glass and a meal, of course, and to share the sun, although we're sharing the sun, but at the same time in the same space. So thank you so much. And thank you, Helen. Queen Helen organized all that and moved the festival from 1 month to the other month. I can imagine what that meant. Thank you so much, and big respect to the organization and to what you set up. It's so great. So thank you so much, Mehmet, as the general manager of URFA. It was great to kind of be in URFA. Already feel that I have been in URFA. And thank you, Ozan, very much for the insights in the educational system, musical education system in URFA. It was great meeting you. And Sakina, thank you so much for your deep insights you gave us from your city and from your international aspect.
You're welcome.
And Miguel, thank you so much. So give an insight from a totally different side you're coming, but that is, of course, we are together and connected. It was so great meeting you. And again, I learned so much. And I will take the words that Mehmet gave me now, cool down. As it is 40 degrees here. Now it's 40 degrees, Helen, can you imagine? It's not even 35, it's 40 now. So let's all cool down. And thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon again, here or there. And
thank you so much, Rainer. Thank you, everyone.
It would be great to have URFA in the network, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. All of you are added value for us, and hopefully for next projects. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care and have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
And cool down. Bye.
Cool down.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped.